My mom texted my 11-year-old daughter, "Don't come for Christmas. It's better if you don't." She looked at the message, then at the gift for Grandma she'd spent 6 hours making. I didn't cry. I just replied, "Understood." 3 hours later, their lives started to collapse. There are moments when the entire world goes quiet. This was one of them. Not the peaceful, meditative quiet you get in yoga videos filmed by people who have never met anxiety. No. This was the "someone just punched a hole through my reality" quiet. Chloe stood in the doorway of our living room, holding her phone like it was something radioactive. She didn't say a word. She didn't need to. Her face? Oh, her face. She looked like someone had unwrapped her heart, thrown it on the floor, and stepped on it with wet boots. She walked toward me in slow motion, like a little ghost in socks, and handed me the phone without blinking. The text glared up at me. "Don't come for Christmas. It's better if you don't." My mother's name was floating above it like a smug little cloud. I blinked, read it again. Then a third time, in case I had temporarily developed a rare condition that made sentences rearrange themselves into evil. Nope. Still evil. My brain did a full blue screen reboot. My heart did a weird, painful hiccup. My left eye twitched. Chloe watched me with the kind of stillness only she could manage. That quiet, contained way she has when something hurts too much for her body to process. Her lips pressed together, just the slightest tremble at the edges. She didn't cry. My kid never cries first. She freezes, like someone hit an emotional pause button. Then she looked at the gift. The gift. The handmade present she'd spent hours on. Hunched over the dining table, tongue between her teeth, focused so intensely she didn't even notice when I put a plate of dinner next to her. The present she made for Grandma, the one she kept checking on, adjusting, perfecting, and beside it, the gifts she made for her cousins, Owen, Ella, Ruby, all lined up like tiny pieces of her hope. She looked at them, then back at me. Nothing about her expression changed, but something inside me cracked so loudly I swear I heard it. I think I need to... Chloe's voice was a whisper, barely air. "I need to be alone for a little." My throat closed. "Okay, sweetheart." She nodded once, small and mechanical, then walked down the hallway and gently closed the bathroom door behind her. Not a slam, not even a click, just a quiet, devastating little closure. And that was the moment I stopped being sad and started being dangerous. I picked up my phone, felt that tremor of adrenaline settle into something sharp, and walked into the kitchen, the only room in the house where I could pace aggressively without stepping on a Lego. I hit call Mom. She answered on the second ring, voice sugary in that way that made my molars itch. "Hi! Hi, sweetheart!" "What is that message supposed to mean?" There was a pause, a little theatrical sigh. "Oh, Rachel. Let's not make this dramatic." My hand clenched around the counter. "You told Chloe not to come." "We all discussed it," she said, like "we" meant some grand decision-making council instead of the dysfunctional circus that is my family. "Stephanie and Tyler agreed. The children agreed. It's just better this way." "Better how?" "You know how she is, dear." And there it was. That tone. She'd already judged Chloe, so anything I said was automatically wrong. "She just doesn't fit in with the other kids. There will be games, noise, chaos. It's not the right environment." "She is your granddaughter." A beat. "Yes, well," she said lightly, "not all children connect with big family gatherings, and the others said they wouldn't be comfortable. I'm just protecting them." "Protecting them," I repeated, deadpan. "From an 11-year-old who spent weeks making them gifts?" "Oh, Rachel, don't twist my words. We all agreed. It's settled. If you want to come alone, You're welcome. Just don't bring Chloe." My jaw locked so hard I thought I might crack a tooth. "And that's final," she added, with the grace of a door slamming in my soul. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I didn't cry. I just said, evenly, "Understood," and hung up. I leaned against the wall, breathing like someone had unplugged all my emotions and left me on survival mode. Then I felt a presence behind me. Chloe. She stood in the middle of the hallway in her soft pajama pants, eyes red around the edges but still dry. Her voice came small and careful. What did she say? "Can I come?" I crouched down and pulled her into a hug, slow, gentle, so I didn't break her. "No," I said softly. "Even if you could, we're not going." Chloe nodded into my shoulder. "Okay." Her voice was steady, but I could feel the tightness in her body, the kind of quiet hurt that sits under the skin like a bruise. "We're going to do something better," I said, brushing a strand of hair from her face. She looked at me with those wide, hopeful eyes that always undo me. "Like what?" I smiled. And it wasn't a nice smile. It was the kind of smile that makes villains reconsider their life choices. "You'll see." Because right then, in the stillness of that awful, perfect moment, something clicked into place. A decision. A clarity. A cold, steady resolve, and while Chloe padded back to her room and curled up under her blanket, I picked up my phone again. 3 hours later, their lives would start to fall apart. But right now, I just stood there, staring at the doorway where my daughter had disappeared, and I finally understood. This time, I wasn't going to let them hurt her without consequences. Not anymore. If you'd asked me years ago why I always felt like a stray cat standing outside my own family's window, watching everyone else eat warm casserole while I gnawed on emotional gravel, I wouldn't have had an answer. Now? Oh, I have answers. I have answers, documentation, emotional scars, and a rage that could power the eastern seaboard. But let's rewind, because none of this started with a Christmas text. This started decades ago, long before Chloe ever picked up a glue stick or whispered, "Do you think Grandma will like it?" This started with the childhood cosmic joke otherwise known as being the middle child in my family. And yes, I can hear the universe laughing. Stephanie, my older sister, exited the womb ready for Broadway. She was loud, sparkly, and dramatic in a way that made teachers say things like leadership potential, while I translated it as someone please sedate her. Tyler, my younger brother, was the adorable, mischievous golden boy, baby Jesus with a baseball bat. And then there was me, Rachel, quiet, nerdy, a background character in my own household. My mother adored children with volume knobs permanently stuck on attention. My father adored peace and books and fixing things that technically weren't broken, which meant he adored me. Dad and I were the only two soft-spoken people in a house that sounded like a marching band trapped inside a blender. Some nights, when Mom was out being the social meteor she always was, streaking across town in a trail of cocktails and half-finished gossip, Dad and I would make grilled cheese and sit in silence. A comfortable silence. A finally nobody is yelling silence. He'd glance at me from across the table and say things like, "You know, Rachel, there's nothing wrong with being quiet. The world needs quiet people." That man was my anchor, which is why the day he got sick, the ground under me cracked. His illness crept in slowly. Little hints, little pauses, little winces he thought I couldn't see. And then suddenly, it wasn't little. Hospitals, medications, that faint smell of antiseptic that burrowed permanently into my memory. I spent more time by his bedside than anywhere else. Mom visited, of course, but always like a guest star on a show she didn't really watch. Meanwhile, Stephanie breezed in to talk about her latest social drama. Tyler came for the vending machine snacks. I stayed, because he needed someone who wouldn't fill the room with noise. We talked sometimes. Mostly we just existed in that quiet way we had always understood. And then, one night, when he looked more tired than I had ever seen him, he asked me to sit closer. "Rachel," he whispered, "I need to tell you something before I go." I felt something cold slip between my ribs. "Dad, don't—" "No, sweetheart. Listen." What he told me next felt like someone had switched my life into a different genre without warning. He suspected my mother had cheated. A lot. Enough that he had done a secret DNA test. And I, awkward, quiet, unfavorite me, was his only biological child. I remember staring at him, blinking like the news was buffering in my brain. He apologized for waiting so long to tell me. He said he didn't want to blow up the family while he was still alive. He said he loved Stephanie and Tyler even if they weren't his, and he didn't want to be the reason they felt unwanted. Then he took my hand and said the words that shook me more than anything. "I left everything to you. The house, the one we lived in, and the apartment we rented out. All of it. It's yours." I nodded, because that's what you do when your father is holding on by a thread and giving you truths that could set the planet on fire. I didn't cry until much later. When he died, I was 17, a minor, barely holding myself together. And that was when I asked Mom, gently, cautiously, already bracing, whether there had been a will. She didn't blink, didn't hesitate, didn't stutter. "No, there wasn't anything," she said, casually flipping through a magazine like we were discussing weather patterns. "Everything naturally passes to the spouse. That's how it works." I remember feeling an odd, nauseous swirl in my stomach, like I'd just heard a familiar song played slightly off-key, but I didn't have evidence. I had no document, no lawyer, no adult power, just a dying man's whisper and a mother who lied with the grace of someone who'd been doing it for decades. So I let it go. Outwardly, quiet kids become excellent observers, and even better secret storage vaults. Fast forward a decade. I grew up, married Eric, who is an actual saint disguised as an army doctor. We built a calm, stable life, a life where I didn't have to compete for oxygen. Then Chloe arrived, my gentle, brilliant, soft-voiced girl who looked at the world like it was a puzzle worth solving. Her diagnosis at 5 didn't surprise me. It explained her quiet intensity, her hyper-focus, her difficulty with loud environments, her way of practicing conversations in the mirror like she was studying for an exam. She wasn't wrong. She wasn't broken. She was just her. And she adored my family. Painfully enough, she adored them. The cousins, Owen, Ella, Ruby, all loud and bright like their parents. The exact kind of kids who steamroll quieter ones without even noticing. Chloe tried to keep up anyway. Rehearsed jokes, memorized games, studied their preferences like she was preparing to be interviewed by royalty. And Mom? Grandma? My daughter looked at her like she hung the moon. Do you know what it's like watching your child try so desperately to fit into a family that once stuffed you into the margins like a footnote? It's agony. Like watching your younger self walk into the same buzzsaw, and so every holiday, every birthday, every forced cheer dinner, I went. I smiled. I pretended not to see the favoritism. I swallowed the echoes of my own childhood. For Chloe. Only for Chloe. And then, about a year ago, something in me snapped awake. I don't even remember what triggered it. A weird comment from Mom. A look between Stephanie and her. A passing remark about family property. But suddenly, the old suspicion unfurled inside me like a venomous plant. So I did something I should have done years ago. I investigated. Quietly. Privately. Without telling anyone. Public records are patient, unemotional things. They don't lie. They don't play favorites. And what I found made my hands shake. The will existed. It was valid. Everything. The house my mother lives in and the apartment she gifted to Stephanie was legally mine. Mine. My father had done it exactly as he promised. My mother had hidden it exactly as I feared, and I didn't sue. Because Chloe loved them. Because she wanted so badly to belong. Because she would have been devastated. So I swallowed it. Just like I swallowed everything else. Until last night. Because when Mom texted Chloe that she wasn't welcome at Christmas, that was the fuse. And what I did next, well, let's just say silence was no longer in my nature. And the explosion was coming. If you've ever wondered what it feels like to be so furious your eyelids vibrate, I can confirm it's exactly as glamorous as it sounds. That was me the moment I shut the bathroom door behind Chloe and heard the soft click. That tiny, polite little sound that meant she's hurting too much to let anyone see her face right now. My kid. My soft-spoken, gift-making, people-pleasing kid. And the people she adored most had just told her she wasn't wanted. Every cell in my body went incandescent. I walked into the kitchen like I was entering a combat zone, yanked my phone out of my pocket, and scrolled straight to Natalie, my closest friend on the planet, the only lawyer I trust, and the woman who once threatened to sue an airline on my behalf because they lost my luggage and my will to live. Her contact photo popped up, her holding a mug that said, "Trust me, I'm a lawyer," which suddenly felt more like a battle cry than a joke. I hit call. She picked up on the first ring. "Rachel?" Natalie said. "Talk to me. My mother told Chloe not to come to Christmas." A beat of silence. Then, "Absolutely not. Where are you?" "I'm coming." 20 minutes later, she barreled through my front door. Hair in a messy bun, coat half-zipped, legal bag slung over her shoulder like she was about to drop-kick the judicial system. She didn't bother with hello. "Show me." I handed her the phone. She read the text once. Her jaw flexed. Not in confusion, but recognition. Because she already knew everything else. The will, the stolen inheritance, the whole year I'd spent sitting on a bomb. "Okay," she said, eyes narrowing. "What do you think about ending her entire holiday? Is that legal? For you?" She was already pulling out her laptop. "Always." She took over my dining table like she was staging a coup. "It's Christmas Eve," I said. "Perfect," she said. "People remember consequences better during the holidays." I meant, shouldn't we wait? She looked up sharply. "Rachel, she blindsided your kid. You've waited 11 years longer than I would have. Sit down." I sat. She typed with terrifying focus. Keys rattling like she was writing a spell. "Your mother's party starts at 6, right?" "Yes." "Great. We'll serve her during dessert." My eyebrows tried to leave the country. 30 minutes later, she spun the laptop towards me. "Review this," she said. "Everything accurate?" I read the header. The name of the plaintiff, Rachel. The defendants, Mom. Stephanie. Mom's husband, Frank. Seeing it in print made something inside me go deadly calm. "Yes," I said. "Everything is accurate." "Good," Natalie said. "Then let's serve them." "We?" I asked. She grinned the grin of a woman who passed the bar exam and now uses that power exclusively for righteous chaos. "Oh, I'm delivering it myself." I blinked. "You're... what?" "Rachel," she said, packing the documents into a perfectly innocent-looking holiday gift bag. "This woman stole your inheritance and psychologically kneecapped your kid. I am not missing the opportunity to hand her the consequences in person. I had no arguments, just awe. Meanwhile, Chloe was curled under her blanket in her room, hugging her stuffed fox, taking the deep, shuddering breaths she took when the world overwhelmed her, and my heart cracked for the 1,000th time. I whispered through the doorway, "I'm right here, sweetheart." She didn't answer, but she didn't need to. I knew she heard me. Natalie straightened, smoothed her coat, and picked up the gift bag. "You ready?" she asked. "No," I said. "But go." She nodded and marched out into the cold like a revenge-driven Christmas angel, and then I waited. The house felt too quiet. Not peaceful, just tight, expectant, like every wall was holding its breath. At 6:17 p.m., my phone rang. It was Mom. The kind of call where you don't even need to answer to know the venom waiting on the other side. But I answered. "Rachel!" she shrieked, proving she was alive, conscious, and exactly as dramatic as expected. "What is this?" Speakerphone. Definitely on speakerphone. I could hear the party in chaos behind her, clattering plates, raised voices, people gasping. "What is what?" I asked, my voice cool enough to frost the windows. "This lawsuit. You sent a woman to my house like some kind of... that witch. With a bag. And she said I've been served." Ah, Natalie was officially a witch now. I'd let her know later. She'd be thrilled. "Correct," I said. "How dare you!" she screeched. "On Christmas? In front of everyone?" Behind her, I heard Stephanie. "She's trying to make us homeless." And Tyler. "This is insane, Rachel. You've lost it." I waited until they burned themselves out like malfunctioning fireworks. Then I said quietly, "You stole my inheritance." Silence. Real silence. The kind that drops so fast you can hear your own heartbeat. "You were supposed to give everything to me when I turned 18. Dad left it all to me. You hid it. You gave the apartment to Stephanie. You kept the house. You lied for years. And I let it go for Chloe's sake. For her." Someone inhaled sharply. Someone else whispered, "What is she talking about?" Mom sputtered. Rachel, that's nonsense." "You told my daughter she wasn't welcome," I said. "You broke her heart. You broke any reason I had to protect you." Stephanie jumped in. "We were just trying to..." "No!" My voice cut like glass. "Don't lie. Don't embarrass yourselves. You all decided she didn't belong." Another silence. A colder one. "You should be ashamed," I said. "I'm done pretending we're family. I'm done giving you what was mine. I want it back." They started shouting again. Mom, Stephanie, Tyler, all desperation and denial and fear. But none of it mattered. Natalie had already filed the paperwork. The wheels were already turning. And for the first time in my entire life, I felt the power shift. I didn't shout. I didn't argue. I simply said, "This isn't up for debate." And I hung up. The phone didn't ring again. Not for a long time. I stood there in the doorway of Chloe's room, listening to her soft breathing, and I felt something I hadn't felt in decades. Resolve. Sharp and steady. But even then, with the lawsuit delivered and the phone silent, I knew it wasn't over. Not even close. If you've never had to sit on the edge of your kid's bed and explain why her entire extended family decided she wasn't worth a folding chair at Christmas, let me tell you, it ages you 10 years in 10 seconds. Chloe was curled into a tight ball under her blanket when I walked in. Her hair was sticking to her cheeks, and the stuffed fox she loved so much was mashed against her chest like it was the only thing keeping her together. "Sweetheart," I whispered, sitting beside her. "Can we talk?" She didn't look at me. Not at first. Then she turned her face, eyes swollen, voice thin and cracking. "I tried so hard, Mom." Those 4 words punched me harder than anything my mother ever said in her life. "I know," I said. "I know you did. I practiced everything," she whispered, like she was confessing to a crime. "I tried to talk like them. I tried to be fun. I even tried to wear the shirt Ella said was normal, and I still wasn't good enough." Her voice broke on the last word, and something inside me went very, very still. Still enough that if my emotions were a lake, you'd see a warning sign that said, "No swimming. Rage sharks." "Chloe," I said, keeping my voice calm because the alternative was screaming into the drywall. "Them not wanting you doesn't mean you're not good enough. It means they're not good enough for you." She blinked, processing. "Some people," I continued, "are never going to like anyone who's a little different, or softer, or smarter, or quieter. That's a them problem, not a you problem." "But why don't they want me?" she asked, eyes filling again. "Because they're cruel. Because they're petty. Because they don't deserve you." But I chose my words carefully. Because they don't understand you. And people who don't understand something often act mean to it. She looked away, picking at her blanket. "It hurts." "I know," I whispered. "I felt the same way when I was your age." Her head snapped toward me. "You did?" Oh, so this was the moment. The moment where I told my daughter something she deserved to know, even if it would sting at first. "Yeah," I said softly. "They didn't treat me very well either. But Grandma is always saying—" "Grandma lies," I said, gently but firmly. "A lot." I took a breath. No going back now. "There's something you need to know. Something I didn't want to tell you because I didn't want you to feel caught in the middle." Her shoulders tightened, worried, bracing. "Your grandfather," I said quietly, "left everything he owned to me before he died. The house, the apartment, everything." She frowned. "But Grandma lives there." "She wasn't supposed to," I said. "She hid the will. She pretended it didn't exist. And she gave the apartment to Aunt Stephanie even though she had no right to." Chloe's eyes widened. "She stole it?" "Yes." "And she knew it was supposed to be yours?" "She did." Silence. Then Chloe whispered, "I admired her." I nodded. "I know, baby. I know. She's not a good person, is she?" That was a knife right between the ribs. "People can pretend to be good," I said. "They can smile and act nice and say the right things, but what they do, that's who they are. And what she did to you, what she did to me, that's not love. That's not family." Chloe absorbed that like it was programming code rearranging her brain. Then her jaw set, softly, but definitely. "I don't want them in my life," she whispered. A part of me wanted to cheer. A bigger part wanted to cry. Instead, I leaned in. "You won't have to." She hesitated. "But what about the apartment? And the house? We're taking them back." Her eyes widened again. "We can." "Yes," I said. "And when we do, you know that program you've always wanted? The summer intensive for digital art? The one with the mentorship and the travel?" Her breath hitched. "The one that costs a lot?" "The one we couldn't afford," I said. "Until now." She stared at me like I'd just told her unicorns were real and also taking new applicants. "Really?" "Really." She exhaled. Long, shaky, overwhelmed. But there was hope in it too. A tiny spark. The beginning of healing. The next morning, the smear campaign began. Because if there's one thing my mother can't stand more than being held accountable, it's being held accountable publicly. By noon, she had called half the extended family and apparently performed a dramatic monologue worthy of a hospital soap opera. According to her, I was making them homeless, I was greedy, I was unstable, I was trying to steal their livelihoods, and I'd ruined Christmas for no reason. By 2 p.m., my phone was blowing up. Cousins I hadn't heard from since Obama's first term were suddenly texting like we were trauma bonded. "Is it true you sued your mom? What's going on? Your mother is saying wild things. Are you okay?" So I told them. All of it. Chloe's exclusion, the hidden will, the stolen inheritance, the illegally gifted apartment, Stephanie's participation, Frank living in property he had no right to, and the fact that I'd stayed silent for Chloe, and for no other reason. The shift was instant. Replies rolled in like dominoes tipping over. I had no idea. That's awful. Your poor daughter. Good for you. She stole from you? Jesus. You're doing the right thing. Mom's smear campaign died so fast it didn't even get a funeral. 2 days later, Stephanie showed up at my door. She looked like she hadn't slept, and her husband hovered behind her holding one of the kids' coats like a man preparing for an evacuation. "You can't do this," she blurted before I even said hello. "Where am I supposed to go? Where are my kids supposed to go?" "You should have thought about that," I said calmly, "before you decided my daughter wasn't worth a seat at Christmas." "It wasn't like that. Don't lie," I said. "It's embarrassing." Her face crumpled, and for 1 second I felt a flicker of pity, but then I remembered Chloe sitting alone with a handmade gift she would never deliver, and the pity evaporated. "That apartment was always mine," I said, "and you living there was never free. It cost my daughter her chance at having a family." Stephanie's shoulders sagged. She murmured something like an apology, but it wasn't for Chloe. It was for herself, and I was done with that. "Start packing," I said quietly. "You have time, but you do have to go." She left trembling. The court battle came weeks later. Mom, Stephanie, and Frank tried everything. "The will is invalid. Rachel waited too long. We thought the house was ours. She wants to punish us. We're victims." Natalie dismantled them like IKEA furniture built without instructions. When the judge ruled in my favor, confirming I was the rightful heir and ordering them to vacate both properties, the look on their faces was something I will not lie. I will treasure forever. Not because I wanted them hurt, but because Chloe finally saw consequences for people who had hurt her for years. That mattered. When we walked out of the courthouse, Chloe took my hand and squeezed it. "This is ours now," I told her. "And so is your future." She nodded, her eyes bright with something I hadn't seen in weeks. Hope. "You know what?" she whispered. "I feel okay." And just like that, the world didn't feel so heavy anymore. Because after everything, the lies, the exclusion, the betrayal, we ended exactly where we were meant to be, free, together, and building a life where no one would ever again make my daughter feel small. Not now. Not ever. So, what do you think? Too far? Not far enough? Let me know in the comments. And subscribe for more.